pure and saw all of the stuff that they have taken and hidden that would open our eyes to the truth, but they've hidden it from us. This is some deep stuff, folks. Yeah, it's deep stuff. And yet at the same time, and I got to say this at this juncture here, in the process of coming into this eye-opening experience, you got to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You follow what I'm saying? Because everything that I'm saying, people, has nothing to do with the existence of God. It has everything to do with the doctrines that we have been taught to control how we live and behave, how we submit to the powers that be. All of these teachings that have been inculcated upon us, that's what it has to do with. It has nothing to do with the reality of the existence of Almighty God. So please do not throw what we call your belief in God out. Because this ain't about God what we're talking. This is about the fabrication of the Greco-Roman people in controlling the masses through religion. And the only way that we as a people are going to ever return back to our place of power is when we stop allowing that belief system that they've given us to control us and enslave us. Am I making sense, people? Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the top here now of our notes. Paul, as it says there in the beginning, is a self-proclaimed apostle. Now, how much faith do you have in a minister who went out and licensed himself? Isn't that deep? We don't accept that. No, Paul definitely wasn't one of the original 12. No, he wasn't. You see what I'm saying? Now, what's deep about it, in fact, Paul states that he was at the stoning of Stephen. Let's read that, in fact. Turn to Acts, let's see, I think it may be Acts 22. Yes, Acts 22 and 20. Now, of course, if many of you may know about Stephen, the deacon, in the early part of the book of Acts, Stephen, the disciple, or the deacon, the servant of the church, when he was stoned. Notice what Paul says in Acts 22 and 20. If you have it, say Ashe. It says, "And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by, and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him." In other words, I held the coats of the people that stoned him to death. I was there when they killed the man. That's what he says here. You see what I'm saying? It's deep. So, Paul was not one of the, no, he wasn't. He wasn't one of the 12. In fact, Paul, according to his own words, and this is another thing, I want you to write this down. Nobody can testify for Paul. Okay? You know, that's almost like you coming and saying, okay, come on, but bring some references with you. Paul has no references. Everything we read in the Bible about Paul's authenticity, okay, or his being legitimate, about his own words, okay? And y'all, when nobody can bear witness of you but you, something ain't right. Think about that. In fact, to be honest with you, Barnabas, who was a disciple, and Paul fell out with each other. because Paul started teaching stuff that Barnabas did not hear from Jesus. Oh, let's prove it here. Turn to Acts, let's see. Is it Acts 15? Let's see. Yes. Turn to Acts the 15th chapter. Now it's deep because it just so happened that Paul and Barnabas had hooked up with each other. I'm sure y'all heard of that couple before, right? Paul and Barnabas, we don't ever talk about the fact that they fell out with each other. We never talk about that. Notice what it says in Acts 15 and 2. It says, when therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputations with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and the elders about this question. Okay? Now here we read that Paul and Barnabas were partners. Right? You know something? I'm trying to think. Are we going to read that here? I'm trying to think now. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the Gospel of Barnabas, y'all. I'm sorry. See, there's a book called the Gospel of Barnabas, and they took that out of the Bible. You see what I'm saying? And that is what tells you that Barnabas and Paul fell out, because Barnabas got in Paul's case saying, wait a minute, brother, you ain't teaching right here. See, because Paul had started teaching that Jesus was Christ. And Barnabas said, no, you messing up now, brother. Now you messing up. Okay, and I'm thinking that was the reference. That's the reference that talks about how they went out together until Barnabas started listening to the stuff that Paul started teaching, and they fell out. And you're going to have to read the Gospel of Barnabas for that one, y'all. I'm sorry. It's in the lost books of the Bible, or you can just get the Gospel of Barnabas. Yeah. I don't know if it's in the lost books or not. I don't think the Gospel of Barnabas. Maybe the Epistle of Barnabas is in the lost books. But the Gospel of Barnabas, they literally removed that from the Bible. Okay? You can get it. You can get it in our information center. Or you can get it, Brother Tillman, see Brother Tillman, or Brother Antoine Cofer. He's here from Afrocentric Books. I'm sure both of these brothers have the book. See what I'm saying? So feel free to, but you need to get it, people. And I'm telling you now, when you read it, hey, you'll see why they took it out of the Bible. Okay? When you read it. Okay? The point I was making is that Paul validated himself. Nobody could attest to Paul's, experience. Okay? He was a self-proclaimed apostle to the Europeans or the Gentiles. Now again, how do we know that he was sent to the Gentiles? Why wasn't he sent to the Africans? Or why wasn't he sent to the Jews? Why to the Gentiles? Can anybody tell me why? Why is it that somebody had to be sent to the Gentiles? Turn to Matthew the 10th chapter, you see it. It says these words, these 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles. Y'all see that there? According to the biblical record, Jesus specifically ordered the disciples not to go to the Europeans. According to this record here. Now, I'm not making that up. There it is. But then again, people, we don't know that because we've been calling ourselves Gentiles. Get the picture? The Gentiles are the Europeans. Please understand that. Now, let's be sure we understand that. I'm sure many of you here know that, but because I'm taping this, whoever gets this tape may not know this, so just bear with me as I lay all this foundation here. All right? How do we prove that the Gentiles are the Europeans? We go to Genesis, the 10th chapter. Turn there. Like I said, let's use their own frame of reference to expose the lie. Genesis 10. Verse 1 through 5. When you have it, say Ashe. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah.